I don't agree with the question. I think it's going to be by interesting brands. And whether they're domestic or international doesn't matter. I don't think consumers look at it like that. Consumers can look at something that started in a garage and find it very cool. Consumers can look at something which started in a, in the United States and not find it very cool. So I think it's a function of what brands do and how they behave and not where they come from so much. For sure, it will become more experience oriented, but I think an experience that doesn't result in a sale or into a transaction is not very useful. So I think it will become more participative, more co-creative, more experiential, but everything converting into sale. And while some brands might experiment with a experience which doesn't result in transaction, I think soon they will realize that there are ways to do experience leading into a transaction which is more easy than experience leading into nothing. Yeah, so I think simply if you look at the number of towns and cities in India which are underserved, the top 8 cities in India still probably account for 50% of the consumption or 40% of the consumption. But account for about 80-90% of organized retail spread. So simply, if you look at the numbers, I think the next wave of growth is going to happen from there. And if you look at consumption, both parts of India are growing. The non-metros are growing, and the metros are also growing. And really, after the top 10 cities, there are still about 40 or 50 very important cities, right? Which population of more than 2 million, 2.5 million. So they have an opportunity for organizing of retail and all of that. So what happened in metros probably 10-15 years ago is yet to happen fully in these 30-35 cities. So it's just a game of numbers, I think, and it's bound to happen. Okay, I think firstly is the ability of retail to deal with the evolved consumer. Okay, there is a sense in the evolved, especially in the evolved urban consumer, of not wanting to consume so much, not wanting to be sold to, wanting to sort of consume brands which are more real. So I think that's the most important thing. As much to consumption as to retail, I think it's relevant. The second is, I think we need to learn from, the data-oriented approach that the e-commerce business or the online channel seems to be really leading in terms of capturing consumer data, being able to understand behavior through consumer data and all of that. And retail seems to be very, very only dependent on people and experience. So I think data and its use coming in play in retail, I think, is going to be very important. And thirdly, sort of new kind of format for the new age consumer, a new way of building out physical retail, allowing the on-demand consumer to participate, to co-create, to be involved more deeply in the process of consumption, probably experience around depth of experience or depth of consumption. I think these are some of the things that will happen. Refreshingly exhausted, so it's refreshing. It's an oxymoron in a way. It's refreshing because there are still a lot of markets which are new, which we enter for the first time, and it's refreshing. There are a lot of brands which, there are a lot of consumers who are consuming us for the first time. There's still a lot of India-specific innovation that needs to be done to get a lot of these new consumers to consumers. So all that is really refreshing about the retail experience in India. And then the exhausting part of it is the infrastructure, the on-ground issues, the availability of, lack of availability of good quality real estate, the high rentals, the landlords expecting a very high, much higher return than what is feasible. So it's like a two-sided coin, and both things are happening at the same time. So that's why I say refreshingly exhausting.